Here we go. Final product except for a little sanding. Oars are in place. Everything's pretty much done except for sanding the top of these and putting a little oil on. I gotta cut these bolts off and put something on to seal them. I gotta get a couple more bolts tomorrow and sand that flat, put that end plate in there through the middle. Other than that, I think we're about ready to get on the water. To put the finishing touches on the handrails, I had to make the two pieces nice and smooth, and I had to make the tops of them seem like they were custom right together. So the best way to do that was to take the belt sander and go over the tops and flatten them down until that was a smooth seam all the way across and nice and even all the way up across the junctions, and make sure everything was roughed in. And then I went back with the little orbital sander and rounded off corners, went down to a finer grit and made it smoother, re-rounded the edges and made sure everything could have your hand slide up and down it without getting caught on anything or leaving any slivers, and got it nice and smooth all the way up to the bow. And I had to make sure that bow portion was flattened off for that head plate later. Then I came back with some linseed oil. I had discovered that there was really a lot of oil pulled out of this wood in the steaming process. And I thought about all different kinds of finishes, but realistically, in the long run, this wood needed to have some oil put back in it so that it won't get too dried out and crack and split. So it took multiple coats of oil before it quit soaking it up, but it really helped protect the wood and made it look much nicer. So I went through and soaked that in all the way around and got it in around the screws and got it up underneath the lower lips and tried to replenish as much of the wood as I can with the oil so that it wouldn't get dried and cracked in the heat and in the cold and back and forth, you know, sitting out in the yard. But the oil really made it shine, and it really made it come together and started to really look like a finished product after this. Then once that was all completed, I was able to drill the final holes through the metal in both sets of wood and put the big stainless steel bolts on that held the bow cover into place. And this is going to take a lot of abuse because it's what you lift and drag and pull the boat around. So I had to make sure that was secured nice and tight. And then all the final hardware, all those pieces were finally coming together, and we were about done with the construction and reconstruction portion. So this is what the finished product looked like, and it really came together nice. I wasn't sure what it was going to look like when we got started, but it really looks pretty functional, pretty usable, and it's pretty on top of it. Looking back to what we started with, there was a lot of work, a lot of decisions that had to be made, a lot of choices, one step at a time, to figure out how to go from this old beat state to something new and functional. And I think it's going to be a good project for me and my son to remember for a long time. And hopefully this video series can help everyone out there realize that it's doable. You just kind of have to break it down into digestible pieces. But you can go from something that looks like that to something that looks like that with really not too much tools or money. Well, boys and girls, there it is. Ready to go on the water. Looks a little different than it did when we started. I was itchy to get it on the water at this point. So that night, I wheeled it down to the Yakima River by our house and threw in a couple of fishing poles and my life vest and decided to put it in the water and make sure everything was going to work okay when I was by myself instead of taking my son with me. So the maiden voyage was slow and deliberate, and I was carefully checking all the pieces, making sure it wasn't leaking water anywhere, making sure the oar locks were doing what they were supposed to, making sure all the benches, and everything weren't flexing or doing anything weird once I had it in the water instead of on the sawhorses. And sure enough, all that work, all that time, all that effort paid off because the boat worked perfectly. There was really no troubles at all. Took a little bit of getting used to use the oars and the oar locks, and I had to adjust how far in and out the oars were in the little sleeves. And they were pretty squeaky to start with, so I realized I had to put some lubrication down in those oar locks. But right out of the gate, this thing was like a brand new boat. No troubles whatsoever, and I knew it was going to be really nice to be able to get out on the water and play with it whenever we wanted to and not have to worry about anything going wrong. So that night I caught a few fish, buttoned it up, and my son was itching to get in the boat too. So the next morning I kicked him out of bed and we came down to the river together, but he was a little slow moving. Took me a minute to get him moving. But once we got out on the water, this was the whole point of the whole project for me. Being able to take my son, go sit on the water, have him catch a few fish and have a good time, and be able to spend some quality time together in a little old boat that we weren't sure if it was going to be safe in the beginning. And now with all this going on, we don't even have to worry about that. Hang on,
this guy's powerful for his size. Is that the same guy?
Similar. Get in the net. There you go. Good job. Okay, let some bail out. Okay. Good man. Okay, dude, try and do them together so we go straight.
1 second, I've got to adjust this. So where are we trying to get to?
Away from the bank. No, don't turn. Go straight. Both oars.
I know.
Row. Okay, you're not doing that. Go straight. Pull. Even. Both sides. There you go. There you go.
It just took me a minute to get in the groove.
It's a little harder than it looks, isn't it?
No, it's just this one's loose.
No.
Yeah, it's spinning.
Oh, yeah, they're both supposed to spin a little,
no,
dude.
This one's not spinning at all.
I know. I need to tighten that. It's not a crisis. Pull even. Spinning is not the problem.
Where are we trying to get to exactly?
I'm just trying to see if you can figure out how to maneuver the boat.
It's tougher with my left hand just because I'm not strong with my left arm.
Okay, can you turn the boat one direction? Turn the boat to your right.
So turn it this way.
Okay, there you go. Okay, now turn the other way. That's how you control it. Okay, now together go straight. This is highly entertaining, dude.
What?
Yeah, what do you mean what? There you go.
What?
Once we got the boat completely finished and on the water, the landowner, Tad, who has been letting me use his tools and work on this whole boat project here, told me he also had an outboard motor for it. So we went out and dug it out of the barn, and it turned out to be a 1965 Johnson 6-horse outboard that literally had not been started in 20 years. So we took it apart, cleaned it up, lubed it, blew all the spider webs out of it, and stuck it in a garbage can to see if we could get it to work. Yeah. 20 years since the last crank, and it fired right up. So my son and I were excited to try it out. So we filled up the gas tank, took the motor down to where the boat was in the river and hung it on the transom, got it fired up and kind of got used to getting it warmed up and running right, and then finally got to go for a spin under power.
We're in the boat, so we finally have an engine. Yeah!
Yay! Shoot video? Okay. Having the motor on the boat has really been great. It's not a rocket ship at 6 horsepower, but it has enough power to push the two of us and all of our stuff up current, up the river. We're able to go up and harass some fish. We have a few places where we're going to probably harass some ducks this fall. And it's really been nice to be able to just get in there and go putter around. Everything works good, there's no trouble, and all that effort has really paid off. I hope everybody enjoyed the series. I hope it helps people out. If you like it, please give me some comments and some feedback. And special thanks goes out to Tad Bowlesby for letting us use his boat and his motor and his place and his tools. And this is it. That's the end of the project. Signing off. Thanks, everyone.